Welcome to NIOS students. Today we shall be studying biology and we shall be focusing on shoot system. Shoot system, basically what is shoot system is, it is the aerial and the erect part of the plant body which grows upwards, and it is usually above the soil, and it develops from the plumule part of the embryo. If you remember that every seed has an embryo in it and the plant develops from the embryo. So, the plumule part of the embryo develops into the shoot system, and the radical part of the embryo develops into root system. So, what is shoot system? It is the stem, branches, leaves, flowers, fruits and seeds. And today in this discussion we shall study about the structure, types, modifications and functions of the stem, and also functions of leaf, flower and fruits. Students, you will see that there is a lot of variety of structures of all these parts of the aerial plant, and all these variety of structures are actually associated with a variety of functions they perform. So, there is a direct linkage between the kind of structure and the kind of function it performs. So, we shall be studying about stem first, and let us see the qualities of the stem. It is positively phototropic. Phototropic means it likes light, it tries to grow towards light. And negatively geotropic. Geotropic means where there is gravitational pull. So, roots will go towards the gravitational pull, but stem will go away from the gravitational pull. So, stem is called negatively geotropic. Alright. So, the stem is divided into nodes and internodes. I would like to show you your very familiar plant of neem, and from this neem, if you focus on its stem part, you can see that there is a place called node. These are nodes. This is the node from where the leaf grows out, right. So, nodes are the places from which side branches, flowers or leaves they grow out, and between the two nodes, can you see this branch here? So, focus on this. This is one node from where I have plucked out the leaf, and this is another node, and the space between these two nodes is called internode. So, the stem is, now you can see that the stem is divided very clearly into nodes and internodes, alright. But root does not divide like this in nodes and internode. So, these nodes only bear branches, flowers. Now, look at this. This is the node from where this branch has come out, alright. And this is the node where another bud you can see. This bud is bearing future flowers, and also the flower, the inflorescence, these are the buds right now, and they will actually eventually in due course of time will develop into flowers. So, this is how stem bears leaves, nodes, internodes, side branches and flowers, alright. So, we have to understand that this is how stem, these are the functions that stem performs. Now, there are vegetative buds which can be terminal or apical in their position. Can you see that? I hope you can see now This is the side branch and this is the axillary bud. Can you see this axillary bud? Yes. So, this is the axillary bud and these are the terminal, they are on the apex of the stem, alright. So, this is the side branch, if you see, this is the side branch, okay, and on the tip of the side branch is the apical bud, which is in this case a floral bud, and it will bear fruits in due course of time. So, these are the functions of the stem. Now, let us distinguish between stem and the root. So, stems they develop from plumule and roots they develop from radicle. Young stem is green because of the chlorophyll and non-green are the roots because of the no chlorophyll is present in the cells of the root. Now, the stem is divided into nodes and internodes, and root is not divided into nodes and internodes, and the stem bears leaves, vegetative and floral buds, and root does not bear such structures, and then stem bears there is no stem cap, but root, since it has to grow out of sand particles or the soil particles and there is lot of friction. So, the delicate tissue of the growth of the root tip needs a root cap for protection. So, that is the structure, root cap, and the function is protection, but stem needs no this kind of cap. Then positively phototropic, it turns towards light, it is negatively geotropic. Stem is negatively geotropic because it grows away from the pull of the gravity. Then roots are negatively phototropic, but they are positively geotropic. That means the roots turn towards the gravitational pull. So, now origin of the lateral branches is exogenous and it origins from the outer layers of the endodermis, whereas origin of the lateral branches or roots they develop endogenously, that means from the inner layers inside the pericycle. So, these are the names of the internal structure of root and stem from where the roots lateral branches develop, and you will be more clear about it when we will show you the detailed diagrams of the inner structure of root and shoot. All right. So, now let us talk about the shoot apex. Shoot apex is the terminal dome shaped part of the shoot. It is formed of meristem called apical shoot meristem, and it is responsible for the development and the differentiation of primary permanent tissue. And mainly it causes the growth in length. It is divided into two regions as you can see in the diagram. The upper outer layer is called tunica. Tunica means the covering, the protection, and the corpus, which is the fast dividing tissue in below the tunica. All right. So, this corpus is responsible for the future growth of the shoot and also for forming various other structures of the stem. So, tunica, as I told you, it is the covering, the outer zone of the shoot apex, 1 to 3 layers in thickness, and it gives rise to epidermis, which is responsible for the surface growth. Suppose this is the stem. Now, the shoot tip here gives the outer covering, which is epidermis, and it gives the protection to the whole shoot. All right. So, and the corpus, which is the body inside, the inner layer, multi-layered zones of corpus actually divide in all directions, and they finally give rise to procambium. Now, try to understand the word procambium. Cambium means the conductive tissue and pro means preceding it. So, the future vascular tissue is formed from procambium. So, it forms the vascular tissue. By vascular tissue, I mean the xylem and the phloem, which do the conduction of water, mineral salts and food, which is formed in the leaves. And the ground meristem, which forms the ground tissue, which is mean girth of the stem, and these cells also form the leaf primordia. Leaf primordia means a newly developing leaf. I have already shown you in that example. See it one more time. So, if you can see this, these are the future small baby leaves, and before this, these are the inside leaf primordia. So, these are the tissues which develop into future leaves, all right. So, this is how various tissues of the stem apex, they contribute in making future body parts of the stem. So, the types of stems now we will discuss is that the stem can be aerial, means which is erect, rigid, strong and goes upright. For example, in some trees, herbs, shrubs, and subaerial, which is weak and it grows parallel on the ground. For example, you must have seen money plant or grass which grows on the ground. They can't stand, grass cannot stand erect because it has a weak stem. And some money plant kind of plants which can climb up on the walls. So, the underground part of the stem sometimes is buried in the soil and it produces aerial branches at various nodes during the favorable conditions. When the conditions are not favorable, the stem will go underground just to save that harsh weather, and when the weather is favorable, then the nodes will produce aerial branches. So, this is how stem parinates or saves itself from the harshness of the weather. Now, what you are seeing is these are the stems which are generally weak, they can't stand erect and they spread on the ground or they hang downwards. Then now let us see some of the modifications of the stem. The stems are variously modified into underground, subaerial and aerial stems for performing functions like manufacturing and storing of food. What is main function of the stem? Basically, stem has to display the leaves in such a manner so that they gather sunlight sufficiently to perform the function of photosynthesis. So, and also parination, storage of food. So, there are multiple functions that a stem performs. So, providing mechanical support. Now, see, if you see in the neem tree, you must have seen that the neem trees are very strong and they live for years and years together, and the stem, if you see, they develop from a very delicate stem, thin stem, and over the years it goes on growing and becomes very thick and strong kind of stem, and this is how it provides mechanical support to the leaves so that they are spread nicely in the sunlight and photosynthesis can be performed. So, we shall now try to see the type of stem and the kind of modifications they have. So, underground stem is of 4 types: rhizomes, corm, bulb and tubers, and subaerial stems are runner, stolon, offset and suckers. Subaerial means at times they are in the air, at times they go underground, and aerial, which is completely in the air. Now, I hope you understand all these 3 categories. Underground is the one which stays below the soil. Subaerial is the one which sometimes it is in air, sometimes it goes under the soil, and aerial is the one which stays in the air. So, they can be tendrils, thorns, phylloclads and cladodes. So, I will show you pictures of certain modifications in the coming few minutes. The underground modified stem, since underground they may seem like roots, but you can very well recognize them. What is the main feature of the stem? It has nodes and internodes. So, even if it goes under the soil, it will maintain its primary structure of having nodes and internodes. So, non-scaly and non-green leaves and the buds. Now, I will show you one example, and you are quite familiar with this. Can you make out what is this? Yes? So, this is the ginger or called adrak. Huh? And can you see the fine lines on this? I hope you can see these brown lines. These are the presence of nodes, and the in between space is the internode, and these browny, can you see these? These are the browny scale leaves, right? Can you see this? So, these are the leaves, but they are scaly and brown. Can you see this? Yes? And this is the bud. From here the branch is going to develop. So, even ginger plant, it gives its leaves in the air, but it goes underground and develops, stores food for the plant. So, why it is thick? Because it is storing lot of food in it. But you can very well make out that the nodes and internodes are present there, scaly non-green leaves are present there, and there are certain buds as well. What are the buds doing here? They help the underground stem to grow further. All right. So, can you see some more buds here? Yes. Can you see here? Yes, this is another bud. So, this is how this kind of underground stem helps the plant in further growing and also in the function of storage of food. All right. Students, so I have one more example of stem modification, and here you can see that this is the potato. You are quite familiar with this. Everybody eats potatoes at home, and this is a modified stem. It acts as a perinating structure by remaining leafless and dormant in winters, but giving off aerial shoots in the favorable conditions. If you remember, when the weather is bad and harsh for the stem, it goes underground and takes its own time, stores food, gets thick like this, and in the favorable condition, let me show you. Yes, can you focus here? Can you see? Yes, these are called eyes. These are actually the future buds of the plant on the stem, and from here you must have seen some small tiny plants. They come out even when they are kept at home. At times you see that certain eyes of the potatoes, they grow out. So, this is how these are the future buds which will give out aerial shoots in the favorable conditions, and it has become thick and fleshy because it stores food inside it. You must have seen the potato inside. What do you see here? What is this? This is the starch, which is the stored food. All right. So, this is how it has become thick and fleshy, and this is the food to be used by those buds in future. When they grow up, they use this starch or food, and as such we eat them as vegetables at home. All right. So, now can you see these browny scaly leaves coming out of this plant? Yes, these are the scaly brown leaves on the stem. Can you see this? Yes. So, this confirms that this is the modified shoot. All right. So, now we shall focus on certain other modifications. I had shown you ginger, the scaly leaves and the nodes and internodes on it. Then I have another example of corm. Corm you must have seen at many vegetable shops, which is also called chucundar, no, not chucundar, sorry, onion. So, onion is another modified stem. The portion below it, these are the roots, and this thick portion is scaly leaf base. Stem in this case has become a disc like, very small disc like. I will cut it to show you where the stem is, alright. So, I am cutting it vertically. You must have cut this kind of onion at home as well, and try to cut and see what portion I am trying to show you. Can you see this now? This is the stem from where, I think it is visible now. This is the disc like stem from various leaf bases are coming out, and in the middle there is the bud. Bud is the one which is responsible for future growth of the plant. Alright. So, I would like to show you certain more structures. These are the scaly leaves. Scaly leaves. Can you see the difference between scaly leaves and the fleshy leaves? These are thick, alright. We use these thick leaves of the onion as food, and these scaly leaves generally they are for the protection, they do not store foods, alright. So, this is how now you understand certain stem modifications, and now we will proceed further. There are certain modifications of sub-aerial stems. For example, runner I talked about, it is present in grass, stolon which is present in mint or pudina. So, and then offset which is present in water hyacinth or jalkumbhi, if you have seen that there are certain purple or mauve colored flowers growing in the river or pond side, and they slow growing streams. So, the stem in that case is a offset, weak stems, and they just float with the help of certain blown out stem modifications. So, suckers are of chrysanthemum and underground runners which grow horizontally for a distance under the soil and then emerge obliquely up, and they strike roots and they form daughter plants. So, this is a modified stem. You must have seen cacti, right? Here the stem has become green in itself, and it gathers chlorophyll and becomes photosynthetic, and the leaves on top of it, if we focus on this picture further, can you focus and see the leaves and the thorns present on this? You must have experienced and seen some cactus plants, and you know the thorns. So, these are the stem modifications. Thorns are the stem modifications, and even the stem itself has become photosynthetic. So, this is how it performs the function. Now, there are certain other modifications called stem tendrils, thorns, phylloclades and cladodes. They help the plant in climbing up. Stem tendrils, you must have seen some thin rope kind of structures which gather the support around them, and they wind up themselves on certain wires or on the supporting trees, and they help the plant stand erect and let the leaves perform the function of photosynthesis. Alright. So, thorns are the protective organs which generally save the plant from grazing elements. For example, in case of citrus plants, you must have seen that there are a lot of thorns. Then phylloclades, I showed you the picture just now, and phylloclade or the cladode is the plant with limited growth and only 1 or 2 internodes. They help in photosynthesis, for example, in case of asparagus. So, now let's talk about the functions of the stem. Primary function is support and orienting the leaves in a manner so that they can be exposed to the maximum sunlight, and for efficient gaseous exchange during the photosynthesis and the respiration. So, conducting water and minerals with the help of tissue inside the stem. I would like to show you a stem which I have cut in a transverse manner. Can you see inside this tissue? Can you see this? This is the peripheral tissue and this is the pith inside, and this tissue carries xylem and phloem, and they conduct water and minerals from root till the shoot. Alright. So, this is how stem performs all these functions. It bears flowers and fruits as well, and storage is the secondary function. Perennation means tiding over the bad unfavorable growing period, for example ginger and many other plants. Vegetative propagation means stem itself can give a new plant. For example, in case of rose, if you remember, we cut a column of rose and put it in the soil and plant it, and so are the sugar canes. We take small internodes of the sugar cane, put them in the soil, and the buds present on the node, they can become the future plant. So, stem also performs photosynthesis, I have already shown you, and protection in the form of thorns. Then climbing up, when the stem is weak, it cannot stand on its own, then the modifications on the stem in the form of tendrils or hooks, they help the plant to grow up. Then we shall talk about other modifications and some anatomical structures of the stem in the subsequent lecture. So, students, today you have studied about the aerial part of the plant, which is stem, and various structures that stem bears, and how the structure and the function of the plant are related, and certain modifications of the stem which help the plant in performing various other functions. So, with this we conclude today's STEM topic. Thank you so much.